Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're looking into something pretty interesting. A mobile game that says it can get you into real estate investing. Yeah, you heard right, a game. It's called Goat Tapper, and their slogan is "From Taps to Towers." But can tapping on your phone really get you into property ownership? Well, that's what we're going to look at today.
So real estate's always had this high barrier to entry. For a lot of people, it just feels impossible to get into.
Yeah, you need a ton of cash, right?
Okay.
Plus all the paperwork and legal stuff.
Exactly. So I think that's what's so interesting about Goat Tapper. They're trying to make it more accessible for everyone.
Yeah.
Especially people who are used to, smartphones and apps.
Right, but I'm picturing myself tapping away at my phone.
Uh-huh.
How does that actually get you to owning real estate? Is it just tapping, or is there more to it?
Well, there's definitely some strategy involved. You're not just tapping mindlessly, although that is a big part of it. You earn points by tapping by completing challenges.
Yeah.
And you level up in the game. And the more you play, the more points you get, which gives you more bidding power. So the points aren't like directly converted into cash.
Not exactly. They're more like fuel for Goat Tapper's Goat Drop auctions. That's where your virtual efforts can get you real estate. You use those points to bid on fractional ownership of properties.
Fractional ownership. So I'm not buying a whole building with my tapping skills.
Right. The fractional ownership is what makes it interesting. It's like pooling your money with other players to buy part of a property. But instead of like a traditional deed, they use NFTs.
NFTs. Okay, now that's where I get a bit lost.
Each fractional share is represented by an NFT. It's a digital token on a blockchain, like Ethereum. That token proves you own that piece of the property.
Okay, I sort of get it. So like if the property value goes up, the value of my NFT piece also goes up.
Yes, exactly. And that's one of the advantages of this model. You don't need a huge down payment to get started. And it's more flexible, too. You can sell your NFT on a secondary market if you need to.
Oh, I see. So you can cash out more easily than with traditional real estate. That's pretty cool. But wouldn't owning just a fraction of a property mean I have less control?
That's a great point. With fractional ownership, you do have limited individual control. It's really important to understand how the property is managed. And you know your rights as a fractional owner.
Right. You don't want any surprises down the road. So we've talked about points and owning fractions, but where does the actual money come in? Does Goat Tapper have its own currency or something?
Yeah, they have the GPPR token. That powers the whole Goat Tapper system.
A token. Can you tell me a bit more about that? What makes it different from, some of those shady tokens out there?
It's not just hype. The GTPR token has real utility within the platform. You needed to buy in-game stuff, like boosters, to earn points faster. And more importantly, you need it for those Goat Drop auctions. You pay entry fees and place your bids with GTPR.
So if I want to get one of those property-backed NFTs, I need GTPR tokens.
Exactly. Think of it like chips at a casino. You need those chips to play, and their value is tied to the casino itself.
Okay, that makes sense. But I've heard stories about these utility tokens losing value like crazy. What's to stop that from happening with GTPR?
That's where Goat Tapper is something interesting. They have a buyback and burn mechanism. They use some of their revenue to buy back GTPR tokens from the market, and then they burn those tokens, taking them out of circulation forever.
Wait, so they're actually shrinking the supply of their token. Why would they do that?
It's like a limited edition item, right? The fewer there are, the more valuable each one becomes. By reducing the supply, they're trying to keep the value of the token stable.
Oh, so they're trying to avoid inflation.
Exactly.
That's pretty smart. So we've got the tap-to-earn game, the fractional ownership through NFTs, and this GTPR token fueling the whole thing. It's a pretty complex system.
It is, but it's all designed to make real estate investing easier and less intimidating.
I'm starting to see the big picture now, but for someone totally new to real estate, could Goat Tapper be a good way to start?
It definitely has potential,
Yeah.
especially because it's low risk and low cost. But like any investment, you need to go in with your eyes open.
Right, you're not going to get rich overnight just by tapping your phone.
Wow.
What kind of research would you suggest people do before jumping into Goat Tapper?
First, understand how it all works. Read their white paper, check out their website, really dig into how the game works, the details of GTPR, and the legal side of fractional ownership. Remember, these NFTs are likely ERC 720H1 tokens on a blockchain like Ethereum. You'll need a crypto wallet to store them. And understand those gas fees for trading.
So don't just jump in because it sounds cool or because everyone else is doing it.
Exactly. Be an informed investor. Just because something is presented in a fun way doesn't mean it's risk-free. Treat it like any investment. Do your homework, know what you can afford to lose.
That's good advice. It's easy to get caught up in the hype. What are some of the risks or challenges someone should be aware of with GoatTapper?
Well, one is the regulation around NFTs and fractional ownership. It's still evolving, and laws can be different in different places.
So while GoatTapper might be following the rules now, things could change.
Absolutely. That's a risk with any new technology. You need to stay informed about any legal changes that could affect your investment.
Yeah.
And also, GoatTapper is still a young platform.
So there are always unknowns with any startup.
Exactly.
But isn't that part of the excitement of trying something new?
It definitely is. But you need to be realistic.
So don't expect to become a real estate tycoon overnight just from playing a game.
Right. But GoatTapper could be a fun way to learn about real estate and maybe even make some passive income.
That sounds pretty good. So we've covered a lot about GoatTapper, the basics, the potential benefits and risks, and the whole context of this new approach to real estate investing. But what do you think about GoatTapper's potential to really change the market?
I think it definitely has disruptive potential.
Right.
But the real estate market is huge and complex. There are some big players and long-standing systems.
So GoatTapper might be shaking things up, but it's a long game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if they navigate the regulations well and build trust with users, and if they deliver on their promises, they could become a major force in the future of real estate.
That's exciting, and it raises so many questions about the future of real estate and technology and how we invest. But before we go there, I want to talk about something else I found interesting. GoatTapper's focus on building a community.
That's a great point. The
Yeah.
community is something that sets GoatTapper apart.
From what I've seen online, they've got this really active community of gamer investors. They're not just playing the game, they're connecting with each other, sharing their experiences, learning together.
Absolutely. It's not just about making money. It's about shared purpose and growing together.
It seems like a key part of their strategy. They're not just building a platform, they're building a movement.
Exactly.
And that's something we'll explore more as we continue our deep dive into GoatTapper.
Yeah, it's really interesting how they've tapped into that desire for community, especially in investing, which can be so individualistic.
You know, it reminds me of the early days of the internet. When online forums were just starting out, there was this sense of excitement, like we were all discovering this new thing together.
That's a great analogy. And just like those early communities, GoatTapper's community is really shaping the platform.
Really? How so?
Well, for one thing, the community gives them a lot of feedback. Players share their ideas, suggestions, even criticisms. That helps GoatTapper make the platform better.
So it's not just the developers deciding everything.
Exactly. They've created ways for players to share their thoughts, vote on new features, report bugs,
That's smart. It makes players feel more involved.
and it helps GoatTapper be more responsive.
Right. It's a win-win.
It's not just about feedback, though. The community also helps educate new users and spread the word about GoatTapper.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those hashtag GoatTappin' challenge posts everywhere.
Exactly. That's the power of community. It creates excitement and a sense of belonging. New players feel welcome, and experienced players can help them out.
I like that. It shows that the most valuable things aren't always tangible. Sometimes it's about the connections and shared goals.
Absolutely. But, even the best communities can face challenges.
True. It's not always perfect. What are some of the downsides or challenges that GoatTapper might face as it grows?
Well, one challenge is keeping that close-knit feeling as the community gets bigger. It's easy when everyone knows each other, but as more people join, it can be harder to make everyone feel included.
Yeah, it's like growing pains. You want to expand, but you don't want to lose what made you special.
Right. GoatTapper needs to be careful about that as they grow. They need to make sure new members feel welcome and that the old members don't feel forgotten.
So finding that balance is going to be important.
Absolutely. Another challenge is managing expectations. It's exciting to be part of something new, but people need to remember that not every investment is going to be a huge success.
Right. You can't just tap your way to riches.
Exactly. GoatTapper needs to be honest about the risks of real estate investing and make sure players are being realistic.
So even though it's the game, they need to promote responsible investing.
Exactly. And this goes back to what we talked about earlier, doing your research and understanding the risks. Community is great for learning and support, but ultimately you're responsible for your own decisions.
Okay, so we've talked about the community, but I want to zoom out a bit and think about the bigger picture. What could GoatTapper mean for the entire real estate industry?
That's a great question. I think a lot of people in real estate are thinking about that right now. GoatTapper and platforms like it could really change how things work.
Disrupt the industry, I mean?
Yeah. For one thing, fractional ownership could open up investing to way more people. That could lead to more buying and selling, maybe even lower prices.
So instead of just rich people being able to invest.
Right. It could make real estate more accessible to everyone.
That's a big deal.
And it could lead to more diverse ownership of real estate, which could have positive impacts on communities.
We talk about diversity in tech and finance, but real estate is important too.
Absolutely. And it could lead to more innovative development projects. Imagine a community of goat tapper players who own part of a property. They could have a say in how it's used, what amenities it has, how it's managed.
It's like crowdfunding, but you're contributing ideas too.
Exactly. It could lead to projects that really reflect what the community wants.
I like that. It makes me think this model could be used for other things besides real estate.
It's definitely possible.
Mhm.
Fractional ownership, community building, gamification. These could be used in all sorts of industries. That's what's so exciting about this. We could be seeing a whole new way of thinking about investing in ownership.
It's like democratized investing.
Exactly.
But big changes like that always come with challenges.
Of course. The real estate industry is not going to change overnight.
So what are some of the hurdles that Goat Tapper might face?
Well, there's the regulatory landscape, as we talked
Yeah.
about. The laws around fractional ownership and NFTs are still being figured out.
And different countries have different rules.
Exactly. And then there's the challenge of getting the traditional real estate people on board. Developers, brokers, investors. Some of them might see these new platforms as a threat.
It's that classic battle between innovation and the old ways of doing things.
Right. GoTapper is going to have to work hard to overcome that. They need to educate people and show them the value of this new approach.
So it's not just about building a good product, it's about communication and building relationships.
Absolutely. And that's something we'll talk more about in the next part. We'll look at the challenges and opportunities for GoTapper and the future of democratized real estate investing.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges for community. But I think there's something else we need to consider.
Oh, yeah, for sure. What are you thinking?
Well, we keep talking about democratizing real estate investing, making it accessible to everyone. But real estate has kind of a reputation.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That it's a rich person's game.
Yeah.
That it can be, exploitative.
Exactly. Historically, it hasn't always been fair. So how does GoTapper address that? Can it really make real estate investing more ethical and inclusive?
That's a really important question, and it's something they're definitely thinking about. One way they're doing it is by focusing on properties that benefit communities.
So they're not just picking any property that might make money.
Right. They're looking for properties that help the local economy,
Mhm.
or provide affordable housing, or support sustainable development.
That's pretty different from the usual buy low, sell high mentality.
It is. It's part of a bigger trend towards impact investing. People want to invest in things that align with their values and make a positive difference.
So GoTapper is tapping into that. They're offering investments that could do good in the world.
Exactly. And that could be huge for the industry. It could shift the focus from just profit to thinking about the social and environmental impact of real estate.
It's like they're redefining what it means to be a successful investor.
Right. It's not just about making money, it's about making a difference.
That's a powerful idea. It's not just about building wealth. It's about building a better future.
Exactly. Now, of course, GoTapper is still new. We'll have to see how well they actually do this in the long term. But their focus on ethical and sustainable investing is a good sign.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Okay, so we've covered a lot about GoTapper. The good, the bad, the potential, the challenges. Any final thoughts for our listeners who might be interested in trying it out?
I'd say be curious, but also be cautious. Explore the platform, do your research, ask questions, talk to other players, read reviews, make sure you understand how it all works and what the risks are before you put any money in.
So don't just jump in because it sounds trendy.
Right. Remember, every investment has risks, even real estate. But if you want to learn about real estate and fractional ownership and maybe have some fun along the way, GoTapper could be worth checking out.
And hey, maybe you'll discover a passion for real estate investing.
That's the great thing about exploring new things. You never know where they might lead.
Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive into GoTapper. We've learned a lot about this innovative platform, and I think it's definitely one to watch in the coming years.
Agreed. It's an exciting time to see how these new ideas are changing real estate.
And that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us. Remember, the world is full of amazing ideas just waiting to be discovered. Stay curious, keep learning, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Until then, happy exploring